Being comfortable with a firearm starts with grip and stance, not with just pulling the trigger. Contrary to viral videos, shooting a gun requires safety, technique, and confidence. I'm here to highlight what not to do with firearms. We'll hit the range where I show you some fundamental tips and end it with some two-way freedom. My name is Paige Roux, and this is Reloaded. Welcome to all things firearms, fundamentals, and freedom. My name is Paige Roux. I'm a firearms instructor from Phoenix, Arizona, a girly girl who was raised in the gun industry, and now your host of Reloaded. Growing up, I was a completely normal diva who did dance, gymnastics, and cheer. I loved playing dress up, and Disney princesses were, and still are, my idols. But I was a little different. My dad owned the largest indoor shooting range in Arizona, called Shooter's World. So on the weekends, instead of wearing dance costumes and bows, I would head to work with my dad and my pink Walther P22 in my pink holster while wearing a Shooter's World shirt that was, of course, pink. From childhood to my current role as training coordinator, I've realized the importance of firearms and the Second Amendment for men and women. It's my goal to empower you on how to properly and confidently use your firearm and show you why we have the constitutional right to bear arms. I'll give you the facts, shooting advice, and probably a little sass too, so load up and let's go. You know the worst place to get your firearm advice? Well, of course, the government, but also viral videos. These videos floating through Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram make me cringe, and they give the Second Amendment a bad rap. I know you thought this would be about responsible gun ownership, and I promise it still is. But the first step of responsibility is knowing where gun ownership goes bad. And this starts at the very beginning, holding the gun and proper stance. The first video I have for you is a compilation of women firing guns with what seems to be no instruction and for no other reason than to amuse the person taking the video. Check this out. Okay. First of all, if you own a firearm, you are absolutely responsible for it and whoever is handling it. So don't just let someone else fire it without instruction, especially if they have little experience with guns. Second, if you have little experience, please don't let peer pressure make you handle something you're not comfortable with.
Like that. You'll be completely fine. Oh my God.
Are you serious? No, she won't be fine. I've never shot a shotgun like this, nor do I want to.
Ow, Alan!
What's wrong, Autumn?
What kind of stand-up guy puts a gun in his girl's hands and asks, "What's wrong?" when he sees that she's in pain? A guy who knows he didn't show her how to hold it or stand correctly. If this were my boyfriend, I'd leave his ass on the side of the road. Do you notice the trend in these videos though? Person goes shooting and takes friend along. Person tells friend shooting, "It's fun, just pull the trigger, you'll be fine," but doesn't actually instruct friend on how to make it fun, how to pull the trigger, or how to make it fine. And instead, person pulls out camera and starts recording. Friend shoots, gets scared, embarrassed, and doesn't want to shoot again. Do you know how often someone says to me, "I'm scared it's gonna fly out of my hands"? So many times, and from everyone, both men and women. I don't blame them if these are the videos rolling through the internet. It's not your lack of physical strength or courage that makes you ask, is the gun going to fly out of my hands? It's the fact that either you are misinformed or have not received proper instruction. And when you scroll through social media and see videos like this, it's no wonder you feel like all guns are gonna just knock you on your butt. Moral of this rant is that you can absolutely control any firearm that is put in your hands when you are set up for success, meaning you are taught at least proper grip and stance. For anyone trying to get their friend into firearms because it's fun and an exhilarating experience that you can both do together, don't do this. You know what happens when people are actually shown how guns work? They have so much fun shooting them. This next clip created by Cut captures people shooting a gun for their first time in slow motion. The range safety officer does an incredible job at quickly explaining how to hold the gun and stand properly. Now let's check how awesome their reactions are. Their reactions are priceless, right? And that's all real too. If you recorded yourself shooting for the first time, your face would more than likely look like that. And shoot, I think I have a video of me shooting like that. But that's not the point. Even though everyone in this video was shooting pistols, whereas in the first video, they were firing rifles and shotguns, did you notice the difference in how the shooters controlled their guns for the first time? What I'm most impressed with is that during the first 2 minutes of this video, the range safety officer instructs the shooters on how to properly stand and then make sure that they have proper grip before he has them shoot. He didn't do a 2-hour safety course or anything. It was simply 2 minutes per shooter, and they were able to control their gun way more than the people who were just given the gun and told, pull the trigger. If you'd like to watch the full video, definitely stop by my TPUSA Live contributor portal. I loved this video because of how real it was. Their hesitations, nerves, reactions. I loved it all. This is what you want to do. It doesn't have to be in depth, but just a little help goes a long way with anything. Hold your fire. There's more coming up on Reloaded. That first video still has me fired up a bit. Let's load up and head to the range where I'm gonna shoot a shotgun with and without proper grip and stance so you can see the difference and that it's absolutely possible to control a gun of this caliber. Let's go. Welcome back. We are at Shooters World in Peoria, Arizona. This is my home base, my family's indoor shooting range, where I grew up, and now where I'm a full-time firearms instructor. As I'm talking, it's going to be pretty loud because, well, we are on a public range, so just bear with me. In front of me, we have a Benelli M1 shotgun. Now, don't get confused with all the names of firearms. I know it kind of feels like they're throwing in random terms like tactical Scrabble to name firearms, but what I like to think of is like cars. So manufacturer and model, just like Toyota Tacoma or Honda Civic. So for this one, the Benelli is the manufacturer and the model is M1. It's chambered in 12 gauge, which is this cartridge right here. It's also similar, if not the same, firearm that these poor women were shooting in the first video. I'd be lying if I told you that this thing does not have a gnarly kick, but I'm gonna shoot it to one, prove all those crappy videos wrong, and two, show you the importance of just having a few fundamentals that you can control a firearm of this caliber. Before we shoot this thing, here are the 5 universal firearm safety rules that we're gonna follow while we're shooting. Number 1, treat every firearm as if it were loaded. 2, always point your firearm in a safe direction. 3, Keep your trigger finger off the trigger until you are on target and absolutely ready to fire. 4, know your target and what's beyond it. 5, maintain control of your firearm. Holding a rifle or a shotgun for the first time can be really awkward, especially if you've never been shown on how to hold it. 1, they're really long, and 2, they're really heavy to hold out there and fire. So when you're holding it for the first time and getting a proper stance, what a lot of people do for their first time is they want to twist their hips away from their target and lean on one of their hips like this. Notice my shoulders are not pointing towards my target and my hips aren't pointing towards my target. Also, my hip is leaning against one foot, so my weight isn't evenly distributed. Second, the buttstock of the shotgun is not properly in the pocket, and it also is able to kind of like slip off when I'm firing. So watch me shoot it in this position for a couple rounds in slow motion, because you'll notice that I won't have that much control over the shotgun. Okay, that completely sucked. If I shot for the first time with a stance like that and it was one of my first times shooting a shotgun, I probably would have stopped after my first shot. So remember how I was talking about my hips weren't towards my target and my hip was leaning against one of my feet. So my weight wasn't evenly distributed. What you want to do is angle yourself, making sure that your hips and your shoulders are properly facing your target. Your feet can either be parallel or one foot in front of the other. Personally, I like to put one foot in front of the other when I'm shooting a rifle or a shotgun, so that I feel like I have a lot more control when that recoil comes back. Second, I want to make sure that my toes are pointing towards my target. Shoulders are facing my target as well. And then that buttstock, instead of it slipping off, I want to make sure it's in that pocket of my shoulder and really push it in so that it'll help with that punch of that recoil, unlike last time. So let's shoot it like this, and I promise you'll see the difference in how I control this shotgun. And that's how it's done. Not too bad, right? I don't understand why people don't get that or even tell their friends while they're shooting. So I promise shotguns are really fun to shoot for things like target practice or hunting. But my personal favorite has always been the pistol. So coming up next, I'm going to bring out my personal concealed carry firearm to talk about step-by-step grip in this week's Tip of the Week. Welcome to the Tip of the Week, where I give you the ammo to become better shooters and responsible gun owners. This week is how to get a proper grip on semi-automatic pistols and revolvers. So I think you know by now that proper grip is just a little important, but I understand that as new shooters, it's really awkward on how to grip both firearms, and it's kind of hard to remember if you weren't shown properly. So basically, a proper grip enables you to acquire your target quickly, stabilize your sight picture, and control your recoil, which basically is just a bunch of fancy terms for saying if you have a good grip, you can control your gun, control that recoil, and keep your sights on target the entire time. This is my personal concealed carry firearm, a Glock 43X. So remember, Glock is the manufacturer, 43X is the model. I started carrying this firearm about a year ago, and I love it because I'm able to conceal it on my body regardless of what outfits I'm wearing, but then also the grip is really important. Off the shelf, completely stock, this firearm is really reliable and really comfortable for men and women. I just have a couple aftermarket things on my guns because I like them just a little bougie. But let's talk about how to get a proper grip. So I'm right-handed, so I'm gonna start with my dominant hand. The webbing in between my index finger and my thumb is gonna go as high up on this beaver tail as possible. I'm gonna wrap those 3 fingers around, and then my trigger finger is gonna stay along the frame because of rule number 3. Next, I'm gonna lift my dominant thumb up, kind of like a thumbs up, dude, to get it out of the way. My non-dominant hand, I extend it out. Notice that my thumb is up in the air. What I'm gonna do is angle it down so that my thumb is pointed towards my target and it's also in line with my forearm. Next, I'm just going to attach underneath my dominant thumb, pointing it forward on the frame of my firearm. Rest that thumb down and then wrap your 4 fingers around your dominant hand. So it's gonna look something like this. I have my trigger finger and my thumbs on the same side. So let's do this one more time. Dominant hand, webbing in between my index finger and my thumb, high up on that back strap. Wrap those 3 fingers around, and then my trigger finger is straight along that frame. Get your dominant hand set first before adding your non-dominant. Don't try to do it at the same time because then it just gets sketchy. Lift your dominant thumb up like a thumbs up, dude. Take your support hand, angle it down so your thumb is pointed at your target and in line with your forearm. Attach it to the side of your firearm, resting that thumb on your frame. Rest your dominant thumb down and wrap those 4 fingers around. What you don't want to do with a semi-automatic pistol is cross your thumbs, because crossing your thumbs, this slide is a moving function, and so when that comes back and your support thumb is on the other side, it'll cut your thumb really bad. It's called slide bite, and you'll only do it once, I promise. So, rule of thumb, is keep your thumbs on the same side of each other when holding a semi-automatic pistol. So we talked about a semi-automatic pistol. Now we're gonna talk about a revolver because it's still a pistol, but the grip is gonna be a little bit different. So notice that a revolver doesn't really have that beaver tail, so we're not gonna worry so much about that, but it does have the grip. We are gonna start with our dominant hand, wrap those 3 fingers around, and then my trigger finger is along that frame right here on the other side. Now with this one, we're not gonna worry so much about angling your hand down and attaching to get your thumb here because unlike semi-automatic pistols with magazines, this one has their ammunition in a cylinder. So what we don't wanna do is have our thumbs here because while you're shooting, the cylinder is gonna rotate, and if I have my thumb on the frame right here, it's a possibility that my thumb could kind of get the cylinder stuck while I'm shooting. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do, we have our right hand, I'm going to tuck this thumb under, and what I like to do is kind of tuck my thumbs in together, like a little hug. Okay, so we have our right hand, it's very similar as a semi-automatic pistol. My support hand is going to wrap around. The only difference is really going to be those thumbs. Tuck them down, and then that way the cylinder can move properly while you're shooting. And that's your tip of the week. We've been over a lot. What to do, what not to do, grip, stance, and if someone just hands you a gun and says, pull the trigger, we need to talk. All right, it's time for a 2A break. Next week, I'm diving straight into the proposed assault weapons ban of 2021 and why it's absolutely insane. Then we'll hit the range and have some fun with all the guns the government doesn't want us to have. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode so I can talk guns with you every week. My name is Paige Roux, and your firearm freedom just got reloaded.